Let me begin by asking you a short question. If I handed you $12 million, would you buy a mansion in Beverly Hills surrounded by celebrities, a 1960 Ferrari 250 GT SWB in mint condition, or a yacht? That's what most people would buy. But if you're like me, a die-hard motorsport fan who enjoys racing whenever the opportunity arises, a Formula One car could be just what you're looking for. That's right, the overall cost of a Formula One car is a whopping $12 million, and that's before the pit crew and mechanics are factored in. We all know that Formula One is a very expensive sport, but what is it about a current Formula One car that makes it cost the equivalent of 450 Volkswagen Golfs? Stay with me for the next 10 minutes or so as we go over why they are so expensive. Before I go over why they are so expensive, let's have a look at the various elements of the car and see how much they are worth. Starting at the front of the car, which is the front wing, makes the most sense. A brand new one of these will set you back $150,000, so you can imagine how busy the man in charge of the finances at Haas has been. Moving down the car, we have the main body of the car, which includes the monocoque, also known as the chassis. You'll have to pay over $600,000 for this. That's more than double the cost of the average house in the United Kingdom. After that, a rear wing will cost only $85,000 to complete the car's shell. So, simply having the visible shell of the car, ignoring all the components inside, will price you back $835,000. So, $400,000 for the gearbox, $140,000 for the gasoline tank, $170,000 for hydraulics, and $50,000 for the steering wheel equals a little under $1.6 million. That's an enormous sum, but it's only around a tenth of the total cost. Of course, you'll need tires, but that'll only set you back $2,700. And you'll need to cover the driver's head, which is where the halo comes in at $17,000, but we're still nothing near the total cost of $12 million. That's because I've ignored the most vital component, the engine, which is the beating heart of a Formula One race car. A Formula One engine's price is obviously determined by how good it is and how much money is invested in its performance. But on average, a Formula One engine costs $10.5 million. You probably expected the engine to be the most expensive component, but you probably didn't expect it to account for 86% of the total cost. So, before I get into why the engine is so expensive, let's compare the cost of a Formula One car to the expense of other motorsports and tournaments. When looking at the top levels of motorsport as a whole, it's actually quite fascinating, and it just goes to show that Formula One is the pinnacle of the sport. The second most costly sport after Formula One is MotoGP, which costs roughly $4 million per bike. This makes sense when you consider that MotoGP is the pinnacle of motorcycle racing. In that scenario, comparing it to the other big four of LMP1, the World Rally Championship, Formula E, and IndyCar, Formula One is clearly the most expensive of the bunch, but that shouldn't come as a surprise. Formula One is a considerably larger sport with a lot more money going through it, whereas Formula E is supposed to be a relatively inexpensive sport to compete in. So now you know what goes into the cost of a Formula One car, but why are these parts so expensive to manufacture and improve, particularly the engine, which is so much more expensive than any other section of the car? The materials necessary to construct a Formula One car are the most evident reason for its high cost. For example, the front wing is $150,000 because it is made entirely of a material called carbon fiber, which is very expensive due to how difficult and strenuous it is to manufacture. And not only the front wing, but also other parts such as the rear wing, monocoque engine cover floor, and everything in between is made entirely of carbon fiber. Carbon fiber is an ideal material for Formula One since it is both highly strong and lightweight, allowing the car to travel at high speeds. The car's actual components, such as the brakes, are constructed of sophisticated composite materials that can resist temperatures of up to 1,000 degrees Celsius before melting and failing, whilst the engine is composed of forged aluminum and iron-based alloys, which are more light and more durable than steel. These incredibly strong and durable materials are one of the main reasons why Formula One cars are so expensive. But that isn't the whole story. After all, other motorsport categories such as LMP1 and Formula E use the same materials, but the cost of these cars is significantly lower, as you may have noticed. This is where the stuff we don't see enters the picture. The large-scale infrastructure necessary to actually produce the cars, such as factories, machinery, technologies, and so on, is a key reason why a Formula One car is so expensive. To be more specific, I'm referring to the machines that manufacture every nut, bolt, and aerodynamic wing that goes into the cars, as well as the machinery that manufactures the physical components. To process the massive amount of data used in Formula One, hundreds of computer applications and software are used. So, while $12 million may seem like a lot of money, the total cost of the machinery and equipment used to build the cars will be much, much more. And once you factor in the salaries of the hundreds of engineers who work on developing the car, the total cost of operations and development will be massive, much more than the actual value of the car, which is $12.2 million. As previously stated, the engine accounts for the majority of the cost of the car, which is why the teams invest significantly more money and resources in the development of the engine, as it is the most crucial component of the vehicle. The importance of the engine being trustworthy and not breaking down sets it apart from most other sections of the car. This is why they spent upwards of $10 million to make it bulletproof. And as we've seen over the last 7 years, having the best engine will win you a lot of titles. As a result, you may be confused. A Formula One car is worth $12 million in total, but the money spent on operations is far higher. That's because the money factored into the car's $12.2 million valuation is based on the car's initial cost of construction, which includes supplies, machinery, and everything I just mentioned. So, it's difficult to show you how the $12.2 million is split between materials, machinery, and salaries, but there you have it. I hope this video helped to explain why Formula One cars are so expensive to build. And if you'd like to see more videos about Formula One, head over to my channel and tell me what you'd buy with $12.2 million in the comments section below. And as always, make sure to like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell.